Hello and welcome students. We are into the 26th video lecture of the video lecture series made on the subject of machine design, whose subject code is ME303, and the topic which we are going to discuss today is the bearing materials and the bearing properties. So this lecture is in continuation with the previous lecture in which I have started a new topic, that is the design of bearings. So in the previous lecture, if you have not seen the previous video lecture, go to the previous video lecture, the lecture number 25th. In that I have given the details about the different types of bearings, importance of bearings. Alright, so that is an important lecture. Through that lecture you can get the knowledge of the different types of bearings, the sliding contact bearings and the roller contact or the ball contact bearings. Ball bearings. So you can go through the previous lecture. Today I will discuss about the different types of materials which are used in bearings and the properties of those materials and what qualities should a good bearing material should have. I am Shri Krishna Mishra. I am assistant professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, Suresh Gyan Vihar University, Jaipur. Now let's see what are the objectives of today's lecture. The objectives of today's lecture are: we are going to understand about the bearing materials. First of all, we are going to understand about different types of bearing materials. Then after, we are going to know about the properties of different types of different materials of bearing. Then we are also going to understand, though we have also started this in the previous lecture, but still some part I will discuss today of the anti-friction bearing. Then the lubrication of journal bearing, that is also an important part, we will discuss that. So these are the objectives. Then the next objective is to understand the requirement of a good bearing. A good bearing has a good bearing should have properties which are important for the running of a bearing. So we will discuss on that. And the last is we are going to design the journal bearing and the anti-friction bearing. So these are the objectives of today's lecture. Now, uh, as I have told you, ball and roller bearing. What are these bearings? These are bearing. These are basically the anti-friction bearings. These are basically the anti-friction bearings. As you can see here, this type of bearing in the diagram also you are seeing that such type of bearings which are having balls or rollers between their inner race and outer race. All right, such type of bearings are known as ball and roller bearing. Here you will either have a point contact or a line contact. So due to this point or the line contact, there is very less friction involved in the case of ball and roller bearing. And basically this inner race, this is attached to the shaft, and the outer race, this is attached to the, this rotates in the opposite direction. So one thing that should come to your mind is that this part, this inner race, is generally stationary. This inner race is not stationary. This is inner race is fixed to the shaft, so it rotates in the direction of the shaft, and the outer race rotates in the opposite direction of the shaft. When the shaft will rotate, obviously, if this inner race, it is attached to the shaft, so it will rotate in the same direction as that of the shaft, while the outer race, it will be considered as rotating in the opposite direction. All right, and this type of frame which is made in order to retain the balls or the rollers in their positions are known as retainers, or they are known as the retainers. So you can see this is the a layout or a diagram which is showing you the all the parts which are used in a ball bearing. All right, then after, there are different types of bearings. This is one more diagram. In this diagram, you can see, students, that there is a outer race, there is a inner race, and in between you have rollers here. Here, you can see that there are rollers. Now, why rollers will be used? It is very obvious that whenever you need some more load to be withstand, to be beared by the bearing, so for that case you use rollers, because the load carrying capacity of rollers are a bit a bit larger than the ball bearings. So this is the diagram. You can see here rollers are used, and this is the Cage means this hollow portion. This is known as the cage because here it is made in order to retain the rollers or the balls in their positions. And there can be one or two rows of the rulers or balls. Like in this diagram, students, you can see, you are seeing that there is one row. This is one row of the ruler, and there is another row of the ruler. This is the second row of the ruler. This is the first row, student, and this is the second row of the rulers. So in this way, you can see that there can be a single row deep groove ball bearing or the roller bearing, or there can be a double row deep groove ball bearings. So based on these names, or based on these things, the different ball bearings are named. This is the layout of a ball bearing. You can see in this diagram, it is showing you two rows. All right, is a double row. This is the double row ball bearing, and these are representing the single row ball or roller bearing. In case of roller bearings, you will be seen, since you are using roller, therefore you will be this rollers will, in the sectional view, you will see that rollers are looking as a rectangle. So these are roller bearings. And in the case of ball bearings, these balls generally from any view they will look like a circle. So these represents the ball bearing. And since there are two rows, one this and one this, so this will be known as a double row ball bearing. There is one more name attached to it, self-aligning. Self-aligning means they don't need additional attachment for aligning them. The alignment, whenever there is misalignment in the shaft. So this type of bearing, these type of bearing have the capability to align themselves. All right. So these are used when are chances of misalignment in the shaft. You can see this is a diagram of a deep groove ball bearing. In this, this is the width of the bearing, outer ring, then inner ring, then you have a cage. All right. So this is the diagram of a deep groove ball bearing. Then there are angular contact bearing also. In angular contact bearing, there are facilities in order to aid in misalignment. This also bearing is used where there is misalignment between the bearing. I will go deep into this ball bearing when I will reach this section. Right now, I will go deep into these all bearings. These are the tapered roller bearings. I will discuss each and every these bearings again in my in my coming lectures, where I will go into the in-depth study of ball bearings, because we have to also derive an equation for the life of bearing, and there are different other concepts related to ball and roller bearing. I will go deep into that later on. Our today's focus will be on the bearing materials. So let's come into the bearing materials. In short, I can show you this diagram here. In this diagram, students, you can see that there are different types of ball and roller bearing. This is the deep groove ball bearing. This is self-aligning roller bearing. This is cylindrical roller bearing. This is self-aligning ball bearing. This is bearing block that is used to house a ball bearing. In this, there you have a oil hole also. Then you have a tapered roller bearing. Then this is thrust bearing, and this is angular contact bearing, and this is your needle roller bearing. So I will discuss these all in later on in the coming video lectures. And the whole soul description of the roller bearings. These are the all different types of roller bearings: deep groove ball bearings, self-aligning ball bearings, angular contact bearing, thrust bearing, tapered roller bearing, spherical roller bearing, cylindrical roller bearing, and the needle roller bearing. These are the classifications of ball bearings and roller bearings. Then after, students, coming into the journal bearing, where you need a lot of lubrication, because there is sliding contact between the two parts, between the two mating surface. There is sliding contact. So in case of journal bearings, this is the layout of journal bearings. You can see in this, we don't use any roller or ball. Generally, we use the lubricant in order to reduce the friction between the two surfaces. The The shaft which is used is housed in this position, and this is the whole of the housing which in which there is also some frictionless material which is used between the shaft and this whole of the body of the journal bearing. Journal is what? Journal is basically that part of the shaft which is inside the bearing. So basically, a solid bearing is the one. It is simply a block of cast iron, you can say, with a hole for shaft, providing the running fit. And for lubrication, you have a hole here. At the top, you have a hole here. Here, you have a hole that is used for lubrication. All right. And you can very easily see in the industries also such type of sliding contact bearing or the journal bearings. These are very easily seen in industries because for bearing the heavy load of the rotating machines, like in the case of crushers, or in the case of ID fans, in the case of induced drought fans or forced drought fans, which are used in thermal power plants, there also you can use such type of bearings. It is very common. Whenever you will go for any industrial visit, you can see such type of bearings which are supporting the rotating elements of the crusher or any heavy rotating member. So it is simply a block of cast iron in which you have a hole to fit the shaft. Then after there is also a hole drilled at the top for lubrication. Here at the top, you have a hole in order to have lubrication in this shaft, because you all know there that due to sliding contact between the shaft and the bearing, there is lot of friction that is generated, and due to friction there is lot of heat which is generated. So in order to dissipate the heat and in order to reduce the friction, you make the use of lubricants. So there should be some arrangement uh, in order to fill the lubricant in the hole. Now, what are the disadvantages of such type of bearings? The disadvantages of such type of bearing is that there is no provision for wear and adjustment on account of wear. All right, if there will be wearing, that there is no provision to adjust for this wearing, then the shaft must be passed into the bearing axially. In the axial direction, the shaft should be passed. Means in case of misalignment, you don't have any chance of adjustment. Then limiting load on shaft and speed of the shaft is low. Moving further, is the layout as I have told to you. This is your plumber block bearing. We say it is known as plumber block bearing. Now the sub classification of your sliding contact bearing or the general bearing, one is the bush bearing. In this you use a bush in between the bearing, in between the housing and the shaft you use a bush. And basically bush is made of a soft material like brass or gunmetal. All right. And the body of the casing is made of cast iron. Basically, this body which you are seeing, this body is made of the cast iron, and in between the shaft and this body, you have a bush which is made of soft materials like brass and gunmetal. Therefore, these are known as bush bearing because here you use a bush which is made of soft materials. Bush is generally a hollow cylindrical piece which is fitted in a housing to accommodate the mating part. This is also you can easily see in the industry when you will go for visit. You can see these bushes there between the shaft, and basically this is a cylindrical piece which is inserted in the shaft, and it is fitted in the housing to accommodate the mating parts. Now, when the bush gets worn out, it can be replaced easily. This is the plus point in the case of bush bearing, that you don't have to replace the whole of that arrangement. You don't have to replace the casing. Only you have to replace that bush which is inserted in between the casing and the shaft. Bush is basically what? It is a hollow cylindrical piece. It is a basically a hollow cylindrical piece. It is a hollow cylindrical piece, student, like this, which is inserted in between the shaft, which is inserted in between the shaft. So if the shaft is like this, the shaft is like this. I'm drawing through this blue line. All right. Then after then this bush is used in between like this, and then there is a casing. There is casing like this, student, in which this whole of the arrangement is resting, and in at the top you have a hole through which you can pour oil for lubrication. All right. Because in the case of hydrodynamic bearing, you all know that you have to provide the lubrication. Now, this is the cut section, half sectional view of a bushed bearing. The outside of the bush is a driving fit in the whole of the casting, whereas the inside is a running fit. So the bearing material generally used here are what? The white metal. Generally, the bearing material which is used in the case of bush bearing is the white metal, which is also known as babeat. I will tell you later on when I will discuss the bearing materials that what is this babeat. Babeat is basically an alloy of tin, copper, lead, and antimony. Basically, there is large percentage of tin with some percentage of copper and lead and antimony in it. All right, so babeat is a very majorly used type of bearing material, so, because it has good properties which are suitable for bearing. So babeat, generally this pushed bearing are made of babeat. Then you have other materials which are used like copper alloy. Copper alloy is also used in this. You have a brass and gunmetal, and then aluminum alloy are also used for manufacture of bearings. I will tell you the properties of all these materials which are used in bearing. Now, solid bushes are entirely made of bearing material and find the general applications. Generally, as compared to the bushed bearing, the solid bushes are entirely made of bearing material and find the general application. What are the application where this bush bearing is used? This is used in turbines, large diesel engines, etc. And the plummer block bearing or the pedestal bearing. This is also an important bearing, block bearing or the pedestal bearing. It is basically a split type of bearing. A split type of bearing means this type of bearing is used for higher speeds, heavy loads, and large size. Whenever you will see a large rotating machine, then in that case you will see that they are supported through plummer block or pedestal bearings. All right. Let me show you the diagram. This is the diagram of a pedestal bearing. You can see that it has been, there are two parts of this pedestal bearing. This is the upper part, all right, and you have a lower part. And since these there are two parts and they are joined through nuts and bolts, they are joined through nuts and bolts here and here. Therefore they are known as the split type bearing. They are known as split type bearing. Now the plus point with these type of bearing is that the shaft can be easily inserted in it, and in case of maintenance you can easily detach this top portion of this bearing and you can do any of the maintenance work. So this is the plus point with this plumber block bearing. All right, here the components are what? One is the cast iron pedestal or block with a sole. Then you have a brass or gunmetal or phosphor bronze brasses which are made in two halves. You have a cast iron cap also. Then after you use some bolts and nuts also in order to fix the two parts. And always the care is taken that the brass do not move axially nor are allowed to rotate. All right, in order to prevent this rotation of the brass along with the shaft, what is done? Usually a snug at the bottom of the fitting, inside a recess at the bottom of the pedestal is provided. We provide a snug. These bearing facilitates the placements and removal of the shaft from the bearing, unlike the solid bearings which are to be inserted endwise and hence are kept near the ends of the shaft. See, the plus point with this is plumber block bearing is that they can be easily removed. All right, so it is not important that they should only be placed at the ends of the shaft. They can be placed anywhere. All right, these bearings ensure a perfect adjustment for wear in the brasses by screwing the cap. All right. So this was your one of the another classification of bearing, plumber block or pedestal bearing. First was bush bearing or solid bearing. This is your cut section of the plumber block or pedestal bearing. In the machine drawing, we generally used to draw such type of bearings. There are different parts you can see. This is also one of the cut section of the plumber block bearing. Then coming into the foot step bearing, foot step or the pivot bearing. In footstep bearing, generally we don't have a diagram here. In footstep bearing, students, generally what happens in footstep bearing, let me draw a diagram to make you understand. In footstep bearing, generally the foot is supported by the bearing. In footstep bearing, what happens, the foot is supported by bearing, means bearing is in this way. The bearing is in this way. It supports the base of the shaft. It supports the base of the shaft. The bearing is made in such a way that it supports the base of the shaft. All right. And the bearing material, in the bearing material is used here. Bearing material is used where? It is used here in this portion. Here the bearing material is used. So since they are supporting the base of the shaft, since they are supporting the base of the shaft when it is rotating and is providing the frictionless surface, therefore they are known as the footstep bearing or the pivot bearing. These are suitable for supporting a vertical shaft with axial loads. Basically, they are used for supporting a vertical shaft which is loaded with some axial load. Here, in order to support the axial load, this type of bearing is used. In footstep bearing, a gunmetal bush having a collar on top is placed inside the cast iron sole. Means generally you have a collar also here. You have a collar also here in this bearing, like in this way. This is what? This is your collar. This is your collar in order to support. All right. So generally there here you will find that gunmetal bush is used. Here this green color which I have drawn, this is basically a bush. This is basically a bush. It is made of gunmetal, having a collar on top. Basically, this whole of the bush, uh, this is complete bush. This particular portion, this is complete bush. The bush itself is having a collar. The bush itself is having a collar like this. The bush itself is having a collar, and this particular bush is made of gunmetal. The ends of the shaft rest on a gunmetal disc placed at the bottom of the bush. This particular end of the shaft, let me draw with a different color, with a blue color, so that you can understand. This particular end here, you use a disc. Here you have a disc, and the disc is made of gunmetal. The disc prevents the rotation of sorry, in order to prevent the rotation of this disc along with the shaft, you also use a pin. You also use a pin in order to prevent the rotation of this disc along with the shaft, because when the shaft will rotate, obviously this disc will also try to rotate. Therefore, we use a pin also as a bearing, whereas the bush casting supports the shaft in position. So both have got a working. This disc has also got a working, and also shaft has got the working. Bush can take both the loads, radial as well as bush can take the radial loads if there is any in the shaft. The disadvantage of such type of bearing is that it cannot efficiently be lubricated, and there is unequal wear on the bottom of the disc. There is problem of lubrication with such type of bearing, and therefore you will find that the wear is not uniform on the bottom of the disc. So I hope you have understood this footstep bearing. What are the advantages and disadvantages? Oh, wholesale, if you want to see what are the advantages and disadvantages of these bearings, which are the classification of your sliding contact bearing. See, the advantage is that they are cheap to produce and are also noiseless. The another advantage is they can be easily machined and occupy a small radius space and have vibration damping properties. All right, so these are the plus points with the sliding contact bearing. One more plus point is that they can cope with foreign impurities that are added in the bearing. The disadvantage with plain bearings or the sliding contact bearing, whose classification I have shown to you, are that they required large supply of lubricating oil. You need lubrication, lot of lubrication, because there is friction involved here, and they are suitable only for relatively low temperature and low speed purposes. So they can sustain heavy loads, but they are suitable for low speed and low temperature purposes. And here you need a starting torque. Here you need a starting torque because at a start there is much higher friction, and the friction is reduced when the rotating element to which the bearing is supporting, that is in its speed increases as the rotating element's speed increases, and so the friction is decreasing, and then it is very okay to use such type of bearings. But at the starting, you need a starting torque. You need a starting torque since there is starting resistance which is much greater than the running resistance due to slow buildup of lubricant film around the bearing. This will also, I will tell you how, when the speed is not, when a particular speed is not attained, then what happens, the lubricant is not in, the lubricant does not comes in between the two mating surfaces, one surface of the bearing and the second of the shaft. So here you need a starting torque. So for that you can use either pump, or you will need a more power in order to run the machine. And after, what are the different properties of sliding bearing? So these are properties. First, the compressive strength of the bearing material should be high. The compressive strength of the bearing material should be high. Why? In order to sustain the maximum pressure which is acting. All right, so as to prevent extrusion or other permanent deformation of the bearing. In order to prevent, since we all know that these plain bearings are used to sustain heavy loads, these plain bearings generally sustain the heavy load. So for that, what you will need that your bearing material should have good compressive strength. Your bearing material, which is supporting the shaft, it should be made of a material which is having high compressive strength, because it has to sustain the pressure, high pressure, and it has to prevent extrusion or any other type of permanent deformation due to this high pressure. Second important property is fatigue strength. Fatigue strength, as you all know, that repeatedly the bearing material has to bear the same loads. So you can say that cyclic load is acting on the material of the bearing. So for that, the fatigue strength of the material should be very high. The bearing material should have sufficient fatigue strength so that it can withstand repeated loads without any development of cracks on it. All right. It is very important property in the case of bearings which are used in aircraft and which are used in the automotive engines. Now coming into the third property. The third property. Conformability means, now this is, you should understand what is this property. Basically, it's the ability of the bearing material to accommodate shaft deflections and bearing inaccuracies. Conformability is what? It is the ability of the bearing material in order to accommodate shaft deflection and bearing inaccuracies. See, there are chances that the shaft might not be placed in the proper location. Means there can be some misalignment in the shaft. Now, if there is some misalignment in the shaft, then that particular problem has to be beared by the bearing material, because bearing supports the shaft. So bearing should be made of such a material which has the ability to accommodate shaft deflections, and also if there is some inaccuracy in placing the bearing, then the material can also withstand such type of bearing inaccuracies. All right. So conformability, this is also an important property of a material in order to accommodate shaft deflections and bearing inaccuracies. Moving further, the next property is the embeddability. Embeddability. Now, what is this embeddability? It is the ability of the material to accommodate small particles like dust, dirt, etc., without scoring the material of the journal. See, you all know that during the running of the shaft in the bearings, there are chances that there might that some dust or dirt or some foreign particles small particles, they can get inside of the bearing along with the lubrication. Along with the lubricant, these foreign particles like dust and grit, they can get inside the bearing. Now, the material should be such that it can accommodate, means it should not be affected by these foreign particles. Otherwise, what will happen? These foreign particles will affect the material of the bearing and they will cause a scoring of the material. So, in order to prevent the problem of this scoring of the material due to these small particles of dust and dirt, the material should have the property of embeddability. Embeddability means ability to accommodate see these foreign particles. Then the next property, next important property is bondability. Bondability, as the name suggests, bondability means that sometimes many high capacity bearings are made by bonding one metal or or more thin layers of a bearing material to high strength shell. Sometimes it happens that students, not a single material is used to manufacture the bearing. There are different materials which are used to manufacture the bearing. There are different materials which are used to manufacture the bearings, and they are placed one after the other. They are placed one after the another in order to manufacture the whole of the bearing in this way. Now, if this is the scene, if you manufacture a bearing by placing different materials one after the other in the form of sheets, then these materials should have good bondability, means that there should be bonding between one or more thin layers. The material should have such type of quality with them. All right. And the strength of the bond, that is bondability, is an important consideration in selection of bearing material. This is an important consideration in the selection of bearing materials. Why? Because many high capacity bearings are generally made by bonding one or more thin layers of bearing materials to high strength steel shell. All right, here is a steel shell, and to enhance its property, we generally use different layers of different materials. So these layers of the materials should have good bondability with each other. Then next is your corrosion resistance. What is the corrosion resistance? This particular property is self-explanatory, as we all know that there can be corrosion of the bearing due to inclusion of foreign particles like dirt and dust. Even the lubricant can also have some material which can cause corrosion. So the material which is used in order to manufacture the bearing should be corrosion resistant. It should be such that it should not corrode away under the action of lubricating oil. This property is of particular importance in IC engines because their lubrication is too much. All right, where same oil is used to lubricate the cylinder walls and bearings. So in case of the IC engines, this property is very important, this corrosion resistance. Now the next important property, thermal conductivity. Thermal conductivity know when temperature will increase. And in that case, it should not be that the material of the bearing is expanding. All right, the bearing material should have high thermal conductivity so as to permit rapid removal of heat generated by friction. Means it should dissipate heat very early whenever the temperature is increased due to the speed of the shaft. Then in that case, the bearing material should have the quality to dissipate the heat which is generated, all right, due to the friction. So for that, they should have high thermal conductivity. Then the next is thermal expansion, which I was telling you in thermal conductivity, that the material should be it should have low coefficient of thermal expansion. Low coefficient of thermal expansion means so that when the bearing operates over a wide range of temperatures, there is no undue change in the clearance. Means it should not expand when there is some increase in temperature. Therefore, it should have low coefficient of thermal expansion. All right, so bearing material, if someone asks you what should be the coefficient of thermal expansion for a bearing material, so for a good bearing material, you should have low coefficient of thermal expansion. Then after, these are the proper different bearing materials which are used. All right, like the tin-based bearing, it is good in fatigue strength. It is poor in fatigue strength, but good in conformability, excellent in embeddability, excellent in anti-scoring, excellent in corrosion resistance, but it has poor thermal conductivity. Then the next one is lead-based Babbitt. One is the tin-based Babbitt, and the second is the lead-based Babbitt. Base means the main material which is used in the alloy. I have already told you Babbitt is basically what? It is an alloy of tin or lead. So the alloy of tin is known as tin-based Babbitt, and the alloy of lead is known as lead-based Babbitt. The properties also differ from each other. The properties of both also differ from each other. As you can see that uh, you can see there is difference in the property of the both. There is difference in their properties. Lead based Webbit and tin based Webbit. Then we have the next material, lead bronze. So lead bronze is fairly good in fatigue strength, but it has poor conformability, poor embeddability, poor anti-scoring property, and poor and good corrosion resistant. And it has fairly good thermal conductivity also. Then you have copper lead, also used as a material for bearing, and it has also got some properties good and some properties are not at all good, like it has very poor conformability. Then you have aluminium as a bearing material, which is very good in fatigue strength and very good in anti-scoring, but it is very poor in case of properties like conformability and embeddability. Then silver is also used as a bearing material, excellent fatigue strength, and it has non-conformability, is very poor in embeddability, very poor in anti-scoring, and excellent corrosion resistance. Even it has very excellent thermal conductivity. Then you have silver lead deposited. This is also a material in which silver and lead both are used. The good properties of silver lead is that it has excellent fatigue strength, excellent conformability, but poor embeddability, and it is also excellent in corrosion resistance and thermal conductivity. So these are the properties of some generally used materials for beer. Now see. Let's have a discussion on the some of the common bearing materials. First is the Babbitt material. As I have already told you in the table when I was explaining the table, that there is one tin base and lead base Babbitts. All right, which are widely used as bearing materials because they satisfy most requirements for general applications. So you can have two types of Babbitts. Babbitts are basically alloy, one lead-based alloy and second is a tin-based alloy. In tin-based alloy, which is known as Babbitt, these are the ingredients. You have 90% tin, then you have 45% copper, then antimony and lead are in very small amount. Then you have lead-based Babbitt, and in lead-based Babbitt, there is approximately 84% of lead, 6% of tin, antimony is 9.5%. So this is very important material. Now coming into the ingredients of bronze material, which is used in bearing. Generally, the gunmetal, which is an alloy of copper 88%, tin 10%, and zinc 2%, it is used for high-grade bearings subjected to very high pressure. All right, but its pressure should not be more than 10 Newton per mm square. Pressure should not be more than 10 mm square. They are high speeds. They are used for high speeds. Gunmetals, which is an alloy of copper tin, they are used for the high pressure applications. All right, gunmetal is an alloy of copper, zinc, and tin. Moving further, then you have cast iron students. Cast irons are also used as bearing. All right, cast iron bearings are usually used with steel journals. Such type of bearings are fairly successful, where limited to 3.5 to 40 meters per minute. All right, they are used for steel journals, which are made of steel. So next is the silver. Silver and silver lead bearings are mostly used in aircraft engines. In aircraft engines, the material of the bearing is generally silver because the fatigue strength of silver is very high. The fatigue strength of silver is very high, therefore it is used in aircraft engines. Then there are also some non-metallic bearings like carbon graphite, rubber, wood, and plastic. Now the carbon graphite bearings are the plus point with carbon graphite bearings are they are self-lubricating, dimensionally stable over a wide range of operating conditions. They are chemically inert and they can operate at high temperatures as compared to other bearings. Such type of bearings are used in food processing. In case of food processing industries, you use non-metallic bearings where contamination by oil or grease must be prohibited. All right. Then these bearings are also used in application where the shaft speed is too low to maintain a hydrodynamic oil film. So they are also used in low speed applications. The soft rubber bearings are used with water or other low viscosity lubricants, particularly where sand or other large particles are present. The plus point with the soft rubber bearing is that they have a high degree of embeddability, high conformability, and the rubber bearings are excellent for absorbing shock loads and vibrations. All right. The rubber bearings are used mainly on marine propeller shafts, hydraulic turbines, and pumps. The wood bearings are used in many applications where you need a low cost, cleanliness, and inattention to lubrications. So these were the different types of material. Even the nylon and Teflon are also used in bearings. They both can be used dry. That is means they can be used because they will not need any lubrication. So they can be used as zero film bearing. Nylon is stronger, harder, and more resistant to abrasive wear. It is used for applications in which these properties are important, like elevator bearings, cams in telephone dials. All right. Teflon is rapidly replacing nylon nowadays because of some important properties. What are the properties of nylon? It has a low coefficient of friction. It has it can be used at higher temperature up to 315 degrees centigrade. It is dimensionally stable because it does not disturb moisture and it is practically inert. So these are the properties of nylon. Now discussing some multiple choice questions, students. Let's discuss some multiple question in order to assess as we have to that or not. So the first multiple choice question, boundary lubricated bearing is this is the first multiple choice question, students. That boundary lubricated bearing is thick film. We all know that boundary lubricated bearings are also known as thin film lubrication. Coming into the question number two. Question number two says that compared with Babbitt, bronze is we all know bronze has the quality it is cheaper as compared to Babbitt. It has high strength and it can withstand high pressure. So these are the plus point with bronze. Option D means all three above characteristics is correct. Coming into the next question, third is the question of three. The question is saying that question number three is saying that the popular bearing material is Babbitt because it has the quality is excellent comfortability. Yes, it is true. Excellent embeddability. Yes, this is also true for Babbitt. Then ability to be used in the form of thin strip. Yes, this is also true. And the last, since they have all the three characteristics, this means that D option is correct. Option D is the correct option. Coming into the next multiple choice question number four. What is the question? In case of partial bearing, the angle of contact of bushing with the journal is usually, we all know in the case of partial bearing, the angle of contact between the bush and the journal is 120 degrees. So option A is the correct option. Coming into the next multiple choice question, the property of bearing material to allow the dust and abrasive particles to get absorbed on the surface of the lining is called as, we all know this particular property in order to absorb the dust and dirt particles is known as your embeddability. Embeddability. So option A is the correct option. Then in case of full journal bearing, the angle of contact of the bushing with the journal is, so we all know the full journal bearing means the angle of contact is 360 degrees. So option D is the correct option. Next multiple choice question. A thin film bearing is a bearing where the surface of the journal and the bearing are completely separated by a film of lubricant, where the surface of the lubricant and the bearing journal are partially separated by a film of lubricant and there is partial metal to metal contact. Option C is where the surface of the journal and the bearing are separated by there is no lubricant. You see in all the options which are given, B is the correct statement that in case of thin film bearing, where the surface of the journal and the bearing are partially separated by a film of lubricant and there is partial metal to metal contact. Then in next question, coming into the question number 6, this is your question number 6, student. In case of partial bearing, the angle of contact of the bushing with the journal is option C, it is less than 180 degrees. C is the correct answer. All right. Then coming into the next multiple choice question, student, we can discuss. We have already discussed 2, 4, 6, 8. Coming to the last two multiple choice question, students. Let's discuss the last two multiple choice questions. So what are the questions? Which wide bearing metal contains? Now, as I have told you in the discussion, this wide bearing metal, this is our MCQ number. This is our MCQ number 9, student. This is our MCQ number 9. And what it is saying? It is saying that in case of white metal, what is the percentage of antimony? Only 10% antimony is there in case of white bearing metals. Coming into the next multiple choice question, students, what is the next multiple choice question saying? The next multiple choice question saying is that this is MCQ number 10. Tin base or lead base alloys are types of, so these are the types of white metals. Option A is the correct option. All right. So all the multiple choice questions we have understood, students. I hope you have understood today's lecture. I hope this lecture was understood by you. For your references, you can use any of the reference book which are given here in the screen. Thank you, students. Thank you and have a nice day.